Hello, Turner family. This is your principal, John Chandler. I'm here with a parent engagement session. In this session, we will review the Georgia Math Standards. We're taking a little bit of a different approach to this parent engagement session. Participation has been a little bit low, so we're trying to reach much more of our population through a couple of different platforms. So what I've decided to do is record this session, present it, and upload it to our website and our YouTube channel. That way you can kind of engage with the material at your leisure, in the comfort of your own home or on the road as you're driving. Don't look at the screen while you're driving, but at least you can listen to me. So please take about 30 minutes and listen to this presentation about the Georgia Math Standards. As you know, the math standards did change. This is now the third year of implementation of the new math standards. And quite honestly, we're all still trying to find our way with making sure that we fully understand the math standards themselves and how to engage our students in a way that's very effective. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the presentation. Hopefully it'll last about 30 minutes or less. At the end, I'd like for you to sign in using the QR code. So make sure your phone is handy and make sure you're going to need your student's lunch number. So make sure you get your student's lunch number and be ready to scan a QR code. Or you can go to the tiny URL link. Those kind of make it easier for us to get to a website with a tiny URL. Again, we'll ask that you sign in at the end. It'll give you a chance to ask questions or make comments, whatever you'd like to do. So hopefully this method works out well. Also, here's a tip for viewing. If you start viewing this video on your phone on your YouTube account and you have YouTube set up on your TV, you start it on your phone and then you can go to your TV and go to your history. And the video will show up in your history and you can just simply continue watching it on your TV in the comfort of your own home as a family, and maybe ask your students some questions about the things they're learning in the math class. So without further ado, let's jump right in. All right. So again, this is our Georgia Math Standards review session, and we'll get right started. Remember, I'd like for you to sign in at the end. You can do it now, but the goal is for you to sign in at the end, and your student will qualify for a free ice cream bar on Friday. You have to sign in by Thursday at 6 p.m. in order to qualify, because I have to go shopping on Thursday evening and I'd like to be home for dinner. So this screen will appear again at the end of the session. All right, as we do in Douglas County, we would like to read our vision, mission, and our beliefs before we start any of our presentations. So in Douglas County, we follow a standard of excellence. Our vision is to build a community of lifelong learners who become responsible individuals, independent thinkers, and productive citizens in a global society. Our mission: we will serve our community with excellence by helping our students reach their potential as we prepare them for college and career in a safe and supportive environment, by recruiting, cultivating, and retaining the best teachers, staff, and administrators, by providing a challenging curriculum and relevant learning opportunities, by providing the highest quality instructional resources and tools, and by fostering a culture of continuous improvement. Our beliefs: we believe that we must understand how children and adults learn and continue learning, build communities of lifelong learners, cultivate the leadership potential of every employee, student, and parent in our school system, be creative, energetic visionaries who respond quickly to diverse and evolving issues, meet the diverse needs of all stakeholders, that's students, parents, employees, and the community, and maintain efficient and effective administrative processes for instruction, operations, human resources, and sound fiscal management. That's our standard of excellence in Douglas County Schools. All right, We also want to talk a little bit about when you get your GMAS results each year, students are broken down into, they can score in one of four categories that describe their learning. And so in Douglas County, we aim for proficient and distinguished learners. That basically means they are at or above grade levels. But let me read the achievement level descriptors for you. Beginning learners do not yet demonstrate proficiency in the knowledge and skills necessary at this grade level or course of learning, as specified in Georgia's content standards. The students need substantial academic support to be prepared for the next grade level or course and to be on track for college and career readiness. Okay, so these students are significantly behind grade level. Developing learners demonstrate partial proficiency in the knowledge and skill necessary at this grade level or course of learning, as specified in the Georgia's content standards. The students need additional academic support to ensure success in the next grade level or course and to be on track for college and career readiness. So like our beginning learners, the developing learners are not quite on grade level yet. They just need some interventions. Proficient learners demonstrate proficiency in the knowledge and skills necessary at this grade level or course of learning, as specified in Georgia's content standards. The students are prepared for the next grade level or course and are on track for college and career readiness. Distinguished learners demonstrate advanced proficiency in the knowledge and skills necessary at this grade level or course of learning, as specified in Georgia's content standards. The students are well prepared for the next grade level or course and are well prepared for college and career readiness. So again, most of our success that we will speak of is measured by our percentage of proficient and distinguished learners. All right. The new math standards shifted our mathematical focus. So rather than just merely solving problems like knowing how to add, knowing how to subtract, knowing how to multiply, knowing how to divide, the new math standards focus on strategic mathematical thinking and reasoning. It goes a little deeper, and they align mathematics to industry and workforce needs at the 21st century. So we want to teach students how to apply their mathematical thinking rather than just complete the problems that are on the paper. Okay, so that was the main focus for redesigning how we learn math. Academic struggle is expected and encouraged. Think about you sitting around the dinner table helping your kid do their homework. And one of the things that many of us say, I often say it to my son, man, this math is done differently, or I can't solve it the way that I used to solve it. There's different approaches to it. The focus is on the process instead of one right answer. So remember, the process or all the ways to solve the problem are important. There's more emphasis on critical thinking and communicating understanding with technology. That's one of the goals of the math standards. We focus on using math to analyze and solve problems in school and real life situations. Remember all those comments that we said and the students say, when am I going to use this in real life? Well, the way we teach math now, we do try to focus on real world applications or real world situations when it comes to solving math now. And the emphasis will be placed on using academic language, symbols, and notation of mathematics. Now, what does that mean? We're no longer going to say you flip it and move it to the other side. We're going to say we need to take the inverse operation. Therefore, we will subtract 5 from both sides of the equation. And instead of saying 5 plus 5 is 10, we want to use the notation and the language. So we'll say 5 plus 5 is equal to 10. Things of that nature. So it's just a shift in making sure we move away from common language and common understanding to using the academic language and symbols of mathematics. All right, so here's the big picture of what sixth graders are going to do and learn. They're responsible for numerical reasoning. They want to operate with whole numbers, fractions, and decimals. Apply operations with whole numbers, fractions, decimals with statistics. Solve problems involving ratios, including unit rate, percents, and measurement conversions. And they want to solve problems with positive and negative numbers. That's pretty straightforward. I think that's something that many of us can really help our kids with, just sitting at the dinner table based on our level of education and familiarity with math. The next thing is patterning and algebraic reasoning. We're going to write and solve one-step equations and inequalities. We're going to identify, write, evaluate, and interpret expressions. We're going to graph positive and negative numbers as points and draw polygons on a graph. And then geometric and spatial reasoning is the next component. We're going to solve problems involving area, surface area, and volume. Okay, those are the big idea concepts for sixth grade. What about seventh grade? In numerical reasoning, they're going to solve relevant multi-step problems involving rational numbers in any form. Okay, remember sixth grade was single-step equations. Seventh grade will transition to multi-step problems. They're going to also explore probability and reasoning. By doing so, they will investigate chance processes and use probability in real situations. These are some great concepts that they can transfer into other subject areas like science, where we talk about genetics. That's where we talk about there's a 50 or 25 or 75% chance of a person being tall or short based on the characteristics of their parents. So that's where that probability and reasoning can go into other subjects. We're also going to look at geometric and spatial reasoning by solving problems involving angle measurement, circles, surface area, and volume. Then they'll explore patterning and algebraic reasoning by identifying proportional relationships and explaining them using tables, graphs, and equations. By creating expressions that are equal and interpreting expressions to explain relevant situations. And lastly, by solving and representing situations using equations and inequalities with variables. Okay, let's move on to 8th grade mathematics concepts. Numerical reasoning. Solve problems involving rational and irrational numbers. Solve problems involving radicals and exponents. Remember, radicals are like square roots, cube roots, and apply scientific notation to explain real-world situations. Again, this is a wonderful science and math cross-curricular activity with the scientific notation. Students will be learning about that in physical science. All right, now we'll move to patterning and algebraic reasoning. We're going to create and interpret expressions, equations, and inequalities, and explain connections between proportional and non-proportional relationships. Then we'll move to functional and graphical reasoning. We'll describe the properties of functions, define, evaluate, and compare relationships, solve problems involving linear relationships and data with two variables, and then solve problems involving angle, measurement, circles, surface area, and volume. And then finally, we will look at geometric and spatial reasoning. We will solve problems involving angle measurement, circles, surface area, and volume. All right, so that's what they'll do in the regular on grade level concepts. Now, we'll also take a look at our algebra students. Let me realign my screen a little bit. In enhanced algebra, Concepts and Connections is a course for students interested in earning a high school mathematics credit while in middle school. Students will study a blend of grade 8 topics and high school algebra, concepts, and connection standards. Your child may earn a high school credit by completing this course. The mathematical practice standards will allow your child to demonstrate skills and strategies needed to succeed in the course. including critical thinking, reasoning, effective collaboration, and expression. Your child will also be expected to seek help to apply feedback while setting and monitoring individual goals. Learning to solve meaningful problems successfully will be a goal for this course. All right. So that's the standard. The big idea units are listed and linked in blue. All right. So how do we teach math? We use a combination of obviously the teacher practices. The teachers are the masters of math, but we use two platforms to help us teach. They don't do the teaching, but they help us teach. One of them is called Desmos Classroom, and the other one is called iReady. And they work in conjunction with one another, but differently. So we use Desmos Classroom for what we call Tier 1 grade level instruction. That means everybody gets it, and everybody, regardless of how low they performed last year, are learning on grade level material. Yes, remember we talked about beginning and developing learners need more supports to get them ready for on grade level instruction. Well, we're giving Tier 1 on grade level instruction every day in class to everyone. But we supplement that with iReady. iReady is a platform where they do a diagnostic screening 3 times a year. We did one at the very beginning of the year to see where students came in. And it develops an individualized learning pathway for the students. And so that pathway and the practices that they do in there, the lessons that they call them, that is where they get the previous or prior grade level instruction to beef up their skills to be ready for on grade level instruction. So we need both of those things happening at one time. Okay, so again, we use Desmos Classroom and iReady. Let's look at how each one works. So every day, teachers use Desmos in one way or another. It's kind of like I'm using this slide deck, or as we call it, a PowerPoint, to deliver some instruction. Well, Desmos is an enhanced version of that, where a teacher can teach some concepts on the screen, and then they allow the students to actually do some work on their computer screen in the class. The teacher can monitor it. So wait for the teacher to see what students are thinking as they put it on paper, but really they're putting it on the computer and showing the teacher, and it allows them to practice things and move things around and see it at math in action. So that's how we use Desmos. How we use iReady, we use that what we call the 30-80-80 approach. And so let me break the 30-80-80 down. 30-80-80 basically means that 30 is every student at least 30 to 49 minutes a week completing the lesson. The optimum usage range is a minimum of 30 minutes, maximum of 49 minutes. That's what the research shows, where we get the biggest bang for our buck in the growth model. And so we call it the 30. We use 30 because that's the minimum threshold. So that's where the 30 comes from. The next 80 is 80% of students using iReady each week in the optimal zone. So that's the second 80 or the first 80. So 30 is the time usage. The first 80 is 80% of, we want 80% or more of our kids using iReady in the optimal use zone for those minutes. And the last 80 is students are passing 80% of the lessons they complete. So we don't want them to just do the lesson and rush through them. When they do the lesson, we want them to pass the lesson. And we want them to work on at least 2 sessions a week, 2 lessons a week. Now we have some time built into our learning schedule. The math teachers are building time in their class every day, but we also have some extended homerooms where we get some of these lab usage times done. So we have a very structured system to try to reach our optimal use zone in the 30-80-80 approach. Now I mentioned the word growth. iReady is a research-based program that gives us 3 data points. So when the students take the diagnostic, it basically says, if no learning happens this year, this is what we expect them to make on the GMAT. If they reach typical growth in a year, they give us another projected outcome on GMAS. And if they meet stretch growth, then they give us another GMAS outcome. So with iReady, we have 3 possible outcomes, obviously each one getting better with the type of growth they receive. So we encourage you, we're asking you to encourage your students to do iReady with all their heart and their strength and focus every week so that we can get the biggest bang for our buck. All right. Now, remember we talked about beginning, developing, proficient, and distinguished learners. Okay. So these are the achievement level descriptors in math for each grade. These are found on the DOE website. And in general, it tells us all the things that students can do. I could read each bullet point, but remember I talked about those big, I'm going to go back to the slide just so you can see where I talked about it. The achievement level descriptors in those 2 boxes say that if they're proficient, they can do all of these things right here. So remember, when I talk about this quickly, you can remember that I talked about it in a little bit more detail earlier in the presentation. Okay, so that said, I can go quickly through these 3 slides. These are the achievement level descriptors for 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. Remember, I talked about each description in detail for each grade level on a previous slide. All right, and then also for algebra concepts and connections. All right, so how can I support my child at home? That's the question we want you to be asking. So here are a few pointers. 1, look in your child's agenda every day, not just for math information, but also for the other courses. Because remember, we talked about some cross-curricular connections that we make sometimes in the practice can come in another class. For example, 7th grade math and 7th grade science have some interdisciplinary connections. The second thing that you can do is, if you have a device at home, have your child work on progress learning. We don't let them do iReady at home because we need to monitor how long they're using the program. Remember, the optimal use range is 30 to 49 minutes. So we want to give them that at school. But we do have a platform called Progress Learning where students can actually do some practices in there to beef up their skills. Another thing you can do is ask your student about what they learned in class. They should come home with some Cornell, not necessarily Cornell notes, but some form of focus notes. It may be on a graphic organizer. It may just be on a sheet of paper as notes they've written in class. Every day, ask your student questions specifically about the topics they learned. So for example, in math today, if they took notes on one-step equations, start by saying, what is a one-step equation? How do you solve a one-step equation? And they should be able to repeat back to you or show you some notes on how they actually can solve a one-step equation. So every topic that we do, we practice the focused note-taking process here at Turner. So in that, we have students take their notes, and then they're supposed to develop questions that they can ask, like us. Remember note cards? We used to study vocabulary words by writing a word on the front, and on the back there's a definition or a sentence, something like that. That's kind of how focus notes work. They give you the information, and then there's a question that goes with it, so you can quiz yourself, if you will. So look in the agenda every day. If you've got a device, let them practice on progress learning, and then lastly, help them review their focus notes. All right, that's part of the focus note taking process, is actually reviewing your notes. All right, we've come to the end. Remember the ice cream party on Friday. If you, let me put myself over here. On Friday, if your parent signs in, remember you need your student's lunch number in order to complete this successfully. So please sign in. The deadline for you to watch this video and complete the sign in is Thursday, October 24th at 6 p.m. Make sure you put questions, comments, concerns, feedback on that QR code. Is very short. Should take you maximum 2 minutes to finish your way through it. Probably even less than that. So I appreciate you taking the time to engage with us in this process. And feel free to reach out to me if you ever have any questions about what we just discussed. Thank you.